Well, it was 86 all.
Yeah.
Knicks right there after struggling.
6 times and 7 losses, they were at least tied in the fourth quarter.
Struggling throughout the game, getting into their half-court offense, and yet with 9 minutes to go, they're right there.
They were. And listen, they're going to struggle to figure out what direction to go in the fourth quarter. Sometimes it can be Trier, sometimes it can be, you go to Canner and you get some post-ups, but at this point it was a close game. It was a tie game, and right there Jason Smith gets the bucket to put him up 2.
That's tough.
John Wall just puts Enes Kanter on skates and gets by him. He was pretty impressed himself on that move.
Still a close game here, though.
Yeah, I know. Still a close game. It was a 4-point game at that point, and then Beal, off the nice little hesitation pull up, 6 points. That's what veteran teams do. Tied at 86, 6 quick points. You put the road team, the young team, back on their heels, and then you start to get a little bit of breathing room. Knicks started to press, I think, a little bit on the offensive end of the floor. Washington started to pick up their defense, pick up their pressure. Knicks were a little careless with the ball. But part of the reason I think they had so many turnovers is because the lineups, they're still trying to figure out continuity with who you're going to be out there on the floor, especially at crunch time. So some of those turnovers, to me, seemed like guys playing almost a little too hard and not playing smart. But that's something they can clean up real quick.
I think some of the turnovers also were the result of, I think, obvious passing. Kind of when you try to get into the flow of an offense, as you showed what they were doing, they do a lot of handoff stuff.
Yeah.
And the Wizards were overplaying.
And it's also not reading your teammate in certain situations because you're not familiar with being out there in crunch time when the other team's really picking up the pressure. So there was a few careless turnovers like that.
Again, you have to credit that backcourt and what they did. The Knicks backcourt, again, Ntilikina 4 turnovers, Moutier 2 turnovers, Burke 3 turnovers. 9 for the point guards in this game. That's a problem when you can't get into your offense because the way they're pressuring, and they pressured the ball handlers.
Yeah,
because they knew. And the Knicks, you saw the lack of confidence in a lot of the ball handlers where they just didn't want it. They'd get to a certain point, back out, and suddenly everything stops. And you'll see, I guarantee David Fizdale will talk about that in the postgame.
Total it all up, Knicks commit a season-high 20 turnovers, but Wally, you mentioned the fight, really epitomized by the play of Allonzo Trier.
Oh, this was awesome. And this is what it takes to be a pro in the NBA. If you want to step up on a nightly basis and go up against guys like John Wall, like Russell Westbrook, like Kyrie Irving, you got to just have a competitive instinct in you to not care at all.
Here's the foul.
This kind of ticked off Trier. A little bop to the head, then an extra little slap down. And hey, Trier's an undrafted rookie. He doesn't care. Wall's a max player. He remembers him back in Kentucky's Kentucky days. And then Trier just used that to fuel his aggressiveness, to fuel his competitiveness. He went out there and he said, I belong out there on this floor. I got you, Mr. John Wall. You're going to be all cool? Yeah, there you go. That's what happens. And then I love the little clap, got the coach going, and look at how he backs it up. He continues to attack. I mean, he single-handedly, with his emotion, with his activity, with his competitiveness, brought the team back. That type of play it's electrifying for your teammates. It's infectious for your teammates. They thrive off seeing a guy go after the best player on the other team in John Wall in the All-Star, and Trier stepped up to him and helped bring the Knicks back into the game. It's just unfortunate they couldn't pull it home.
It was a 14-4 run to end the quarter, and he had 7 points really in that. And it was just, we show it, not that he had a huge game, he had 9 points, but it was emblematic, like we're talking about, of the way this team is playing. And this is exactly what David Fizdale has wanted, a young, tough team that will not back down. Any other type of team might have gotten blown out in this game, the way the Wizards were coming after him early on, but you saw toughness out of this Knicks team. Trier certainly is emblematic of it, and wherever John Starks is watching, he was probably very proud of that.
So the Knicks were tough, but the reality is, even though the Wizards came in 1-7, they have elite talent, especially in the backcourt. John Wall has still got it. He is our DraftKings player of the game. Play one-day fantasy basketball on DraftKings.com, the official one-day fantasy partner of the New York Knicks. Look at this, guys. 26 points for Wall, 7 assists, 5 steals, 48.5 fantasy points.
5 steals.
A lot of directions it could have gone, but he was just phenomenal tonight. Doing it all after all those knee injuries. 9 for 16, Allen, from the floor. That's a high percentage.
For him this year, very good. Yeah, but you see him also.
3 threes, too.
He anticipating. He really got, not to pick on Frank Ntilikina, but he really went after Frank Ntilikina early in this game. He went after his dribble a lot. It took Frank out of the game mentally. He wasn't aggressive, and John just continued. He had to. This is what, again, he's a superstar of the team. He had to carry this team to a win. Going into a game like this against a young team on your home court after being embarrassed, that's what you expect.